A very good evening to all. Hope my audio and video both are clear for you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yes, we are in the final session on supply chain and logistics analytics. And in today's session, that is session 4, we are going to discuss on the network design and the optimization. Supply chain from the beginning, we have discussed on how important the supply chain functionalities, the drivers, and the activities, which plays a major role in making the product, not only making and taking the product and delivering, that is, reaching the product to the end user or the customer in the right way. So it is a network of all the activities. You name any function like finance, HR, marketing. So they do their job with respect to their functionality. That is HR selection and what is that selection of human resources, training them and going for appraisal and those all human related, employee related aspects and functions will be carried out. And when you come or discuss about the finance, yes, anything and everything related to budget allocation, capital investment, and funding and investments, portfolio management. So all these are going to be the look after for finance as a function. But when we speak about the supply chain, so it is there everywhere, right from the supplier, right from the origin point, right from the planning, the strategic implications. So everywhere you need to give due importance and focus on the supply chain as a function. So only then the product will be ensured to be delivered to the customers intact, in time, and with the right safety measures and all fast, like agility. So every aspect has to be taken care when it comes to supply chain. So lot of planning, the 360 level of planning as well as execution goes in for supply chain as a function. And that's why this is considered as a nerve of any organization, any entity, be it the manufacturing sector, be it the logistics sector, or be it the services sector. But this is very crucial for that sector to ensure how efficient their supply chain is. Okay, so that's what we are going to see in today's session on how to design this entire network so that we can make this network, entire network efficient and also optimize. See, optimization cannot be separated with the processes we carry out. Whatever we do, see, any resources are scarce in today's world, whether it is human resources or financial resources or any other resources. They are scarce. And we are compelled and moved into such a scenario of utilizing the available resources and giving the best outcome and output as possible. Okay. So that's what we call as optimization. So everywhere we plan for any functionality, optimization is the core. So we need to put in the best effort so that all the resources are optimized to a greater extent and you create value for the product you deliver to the customer also and customer also becomes happy then. Okay, so how does supply chain play a significant role in service industry? That is IT or banking industry where nothing tangible is manufactured and rather a service is provided. Very nice that you have put forth this question. See, take for example, since we are specifically talking or you have asked about the service industry, let us take a typical service industry, IT unit. So let us take a typical service industry of a bank, a pharma, hotel, a restaurant. So these are typical service industries. But then there too you have a product which becomes tangible. So in the pharma industry, so you give services, you give medical treatment. And that too in pandemic, we saw this industry functioning to its greatest capacity. And that too, right from the medical equipment and even the delivery of during pandemic, what happened? The medicines, the medical equipment, the oxygen cylinders, the sanitizers, the masks, all these are products involved in the service industry. And here too, the products, though they are tangible and the services are intangible, so it will get a complete form when both are merged together and delivered as a service to the customer, right? So because even in you take for example the spa, okay, the saloon and the spa industry, typical services, right from a massage service or right from a facial service or even a haircut. Take for example, that's completely a service. But then what role supply chain plays in there? So the equipment you use to deliver these services. So for them, the supply chain is required. You need to plan from whom are you going to procure. And even in the salon and spa services, right from arranging, see here, you make a haircut. And how are you going to dispose of these what is that left out hair and all that. So there the supply chain is required for. So you call you they can call it as a reverse logistics. For you it is a forward logistics wherein the products are left out or any other utilities are being sent, made arrangement for with the third party logistician and send it back, right? And procurement of the equipment which are used to deliver these services. It may be a restaurant service or where you serve the food. So food is tangible here, the service you make is intangible here. The rooms. The room is tangible here, but the service you provide is intangible here. Both goes hand in hand. Okay, so service industry also requires certain items or equipment to support your services to be delivered. And when it comes there, so there the supply chain is involved, and you need to ensure there too the supply chain is agile and it is very fast, it is quicker to make the products available and deliver the services to the customer. So this is where whether it is tangible or intangible, the supply chain as a function is involved throughout. That's so very crucial. Even if it is a consultancy firm, even if it is a banking sector, as you asked, even if it is an IT sector, right? So where you have for IT, you need some equipment to support your IT services. So be it a laptop or a desktop or projector or even any software as a service or a hardware which you are procuring. So there, product is involved through which you are going to deliver the service. And there, anyway, the supply chain is involved. So, right from the procurement of the product related service. Okay, so everywhere it has to go in tandem, and you need to understand. So, where exactly the product is helping me out in executing the services and reaching it well to the customer. But even in a consultancy firm, so human resources, completely human resources, right? So making your staff commute from the place of work to their home and from home to the office. So you require some bus services or transportation services to be provided. So with which the services of the human resources comes to an end. So everywhere supply chain is related, involved, though not typically or exactly, which happens in a manufacturing setup. It will not happen or it will not function. The complete range of services which happens invariably in a manufacturing sector may not be present here or may not happen here. But then logistics as a service will happen here. And yeah, execution, procurement of certain materials which are going to help you out and deliver the service. So those things will happen even in the services sector. Okay, this we saw in the inventory also, because when it comes to the service sector, holding or counting of inventory or calculating the inventory also becomes very difficult or tough. So that's what we said. The vacant rooms on the next day cannot be doubly occupied. So once the sale of the vacant room or the airliner, so the day gone or the service is gone. So you cannot doubly book for a airliner to compensate when there were times it has flown without any passenger. Okay, it cannot be done, and that is why the price fluctuations happens in such cases or in these sectors of services, right? But everywhere the supply chain, though not all the functionalities, but here and there are functionalities happening, both in products in manufacturing sector with products. It is so very tangible and visible. So here in the services sector, it is not visible to a greater extent, but still um, the procurement activity, the tangibility of certain equipment happens here, which are going to support you in delivering the service. Okay, that's how and where we can relate or correlate services with products. Okay, so going forward, we are going to focus on the left out aspects on the supply chain and logistics analytics, where we are going to talk on the distribution facilities and the logistics network optimization. So far we started with understanding the analytics basically and moved on to forecasting. And forecasting, we understood two types. One was the qualitative, where you do not have any sufficient past data. You will go with the expert opinion and the knowledge gained based on the experience. So you will go with that decision making. Then when we progress, so when as a firm or organization you progress, you gather some data, maybe a month's data, maybe a year's data. So with that data, so you will be able to understand the trend or the pattern of the sales or demand that has happened. So with that, you will be having the luxury of calculating or understanding the level of inventory to be held, the level of production to be executed, all those things. So that was what we saw in the quantitative demand forecasting methods. Then having done the basic requirement or the research on forecasting. So we quickly moved on to discuss on the inventory level. So why do we forecast? To understand how much should I produce? And that also will indicate me very clearly what should be the inventory levels I should hold. Also, with the simulation you all might have played, you might have clearly understood that having high inventory as well as low inventory both are extreme scenarios, which is not good for the organization. It is both are threatful situations, so you need to overcome them. And striking the zero balance between these two extreme situations is highly challenging. Though not impossible, it is challenging always. So that we understood in session 3 when we discussed on the inventory management. Then finally, so with all these functionalities intact, so now moving forward, what else should we focus on to make this supply chain function effective or efficient? So that also we'll see in today's session, how efficient your supply chain should be or how responsive your supply chain should be. So based on the typical supply chain activities you perform, so you will decide, or on the brand of the services you execute, you will decide how your supply chain should be designed. Okay, so for that, it is very important for us to understand or formulate the distribution facility, and also not but last but not the least, the logistics network. So here is where the supply chain comes to an end with the last mile delivery. Be it the full strategy where you make the customers come to your sales outlet or the touch point to and make them buy the product, or else like the e-commerce giants giving for or going for the last mile delivery, reaching the customers individually. The supply chain comes to an end only with the logistics activity. So, how to optimize that logistics activity? And when we talk about this logistics activity, this becomes even more crucial because at least the other supply chain functionalities are a result of the value adding activity. So you give a form, you procure the raw material components, you produce them, you give a form to them, and the final product is at least tangible. But then logistics as a service is a purely intangible fact because the customer is not going to know how you have delivered the product or how in which mode have you delivered the product, and he's not particular about that aspect. So all the thing, all the more it matters for him is the safety of the product and safely it has to be delivered to him. So, how much do I spend towards this logistics as a function matters a lot because every rupee I'm going to save in this logistics function is going to either increase my profit margin or else I will pass on the benefit to the customer by reducing the cost. Both are positive outcomes. So, any organization would focus on this logistics as a factor to reduce the logistics expenses. But shockingly, here in our country, the Logistics Performance Index, we call this as LPI, that is way too high, and we are spending around 14% towards our GDP as the logistics expenses. whereas our Western counterparts like US, UK, and other European countries spend closer to 6 to 8% of their GDP towards the logistics expenses. So our national logistics policy, which was launched 2 years back, also had carried this agenda of minimizing the logistics expenses. So that's why they are coming out with many progressive activities like building the infrastructure, developing the ports, road infrastructure, everything. They are focusing on every way and mean how to improve this logistics sector on the whole and the function on the whole, so that the cost of the logistics cost on the whole comes down. If there's any expenses, if it can be minimized or it can be optimized, so that is a savings for both the organization as well as the customer, right? So that's what they are focusing upon. So how to optimize this network from the logistics perspective also is what we are going to see today, and we are going to end our session with that. Okay, so right. Okay, so before moving on to distribution network and the logistics optimization, there is a small part that is being left, or a connecting point between the demand forecasting, inventory optimization, and the distribution network as well. So here is where sourcing comes into picture. So we already discussed that supply chain is the network of activity between the supplier and the customer's customer. So when we start talking about our supplier, sourcing is a very, very important function. So without which our entire production scheduling or else the other activities and then the storing, warehousing, the logistics activities, everything will not perform or will not be functioning well without this activity. Okay, so sourcing forms as the basic activity for any organization which goes in for the production activity on the whole. So just a single slide on sourcing, and then we are moving on for distribution network optimization. Okay, so in this sourcing as a function, your supplier analysis and need for supplier selection is very, very important. And this again depends on the type of the industry you belong to. So you are a manufacturer. So which type of manufacturer? Are you an apparel manufacturer, or are you a laptop manufacturer or a mobile phone manufacturer? So electronic goods or automotive products or aircraft industry. So which sector are you into? So accordingly, you are going to choose your suppliers. And again, based on the demand. So recently I read an article that Rolls Royce takes, so both belong to automotive sector only, both examples what I'm going to cite now. But see the difference. Rolls Royce takes 6 months duration to produce one car. Okay. And then on the contrary, wherein Toyota takes 13 days to produce one car. So both belong to the automotive segment, but then the positioning of these two brands are completely different. So very, very niche category and highly customized production. So that is why they are taking more time to produce or roll out one car. So maybe the cost of the car is some 100 or 200 times more than the car of Toyota, a brand like Toyota. The customer segment, the requirements, everything is going to be completely different. So, but though they both belong to the same sector. But then the suppliers of this Rolls Royce are completely going to be belonging to a niche category, and the requirements of them also will be put forth completely in a different way. And when it comes to Toyota, it's a completely different requirement they seek from their suppliers. So that is again a beautiful case study, though not covered in your syllabus, on Toyota. So how they keep their suppliers closer by, because we all know Toyota is the one who contributed just in time to the world. So they, to have just in time technology, they obviously need to have all their suppliers closer by. And exactly once the customer places the order, after which Toyota goes and procures the raw material, starts the production, rolls out the car, and then supplies it to the customer. They were totally against holding inventory for a longer duration of time. So that is possible with the level of positioning and the quality. And quality is obviously good, but then the level of positioning and the pricing of the car, right? But when it comes to Rolls Royce, completely a different ball game and type of positioning. So taking 6 months for one car and think of the level of customization. And if it is that level of customization which goes inside single car, then imagine how should be the supplier selection be. The suppliers also need to be highly responsive because every customer's requirement are not going to be identical when it comes to Rolls Royce. And completely having supplier also intact and make them understand the requirements of the customer and then make them produce the components or spares accordingly and then putting that into the production of Rolls Royce. Everything is going to be time consuming, obviously. So that is the level of supplier selection. So normally any organization are they are very keen and very particular on choosing their suppliers. Be it Nike, so who goes in for 100% contract manufacturing. So they do not produce on their own. They completely outsource. That is which we call as contract manufacturing. But then monitor because you need to ensure that your contract manufacturers comply to your quality as well, right? So they closely monitor, work with their contract manufacturers, but then they do not produce themselves, right? Then, when you choose suppliers for such a contract manufacturing firm, so that becomes a very, very tedious and rigorous exercise. And that too, with the level of global sourcing that is happening. So, be it Apple, which goes in for global sourcing, or be it McDonald's that goes for global sourcing, because when they came and opened outlets in India, so not that again, McDonald's when they came in, so we all know that French fries are very, very popular and famous. But then for a very long time, so they were not able to find the right supplier for the quality of potato they were looking in for. So they were going for global sourcing and global procurement till they finally found one farmer or one supplier in Punjab who was fulfilling their expectation of the correct or respective quality of potato. Fine. So in such instances and all this, this procurement itself becomes a very, very tedious activity. Because when you are not able to comply in the procurement function itself, then all the other functions of supply chain are going to have a great hit. So organization doesn't want to do that. So that is why procurement professionals they acquire certifications on this procurement part. So a lot many things goes inside them. So only thing I wanted to convey here is sourcing or procurement. We use it interchangeably. So sourcing is more of a strategic activity. Procurement is more of both strategic as well as an operational activity. That's the main difference between sourcing and procurement because in procurement you execute also, but in sourcing you strategically plan how you're going to choose your suppliers, selection of suppliers has to be happening. But once that is done in procurement, you are going to sail or travel along with your suppliers too. Okay, so with the globe shrinking and becoming very small, and you have access to multiple brands across the every corner of the globe, this sourcing as an activity has gained a lot of predominance. So organizations have started to give more priority, more importance for the sourcing as an activity because once they are, whether it is Amazon, where you have millions of suppliers, so thousands and lakhs of suppliers supplying products, you call them sellers or suppliers, any name. And because it is your face which is going to be identified by the customer, and customer is not worried or bothered whether your supplier or seller has not supplied the right product. Okay, so that is where the supplier selection or this sourcing as an activity plays a very, very vital role in any supply chain. Fine. So these are the processes that will happen. Sourcing is a function. And when we talk about the models involved, there are two typical models. One is the lead supplier model, and the other one is the collaborative partnering model. So lead supplier model similar to a franchisee model. So wherein when you want to expand, so we also saw a case study of Starbucks going into Australia. So there they went in with a lead supplier model. So wherein they identify one supplier or one franchisee, one seller in one area, one region, and all the other suppliers will come under this lead supplier. And this lead supplier will be in connection with the headquarters or the brand, and periodically he will be reporting on the changes that is happening or progress that is happening, whatever it is. So this is a continuation of traditional outsourcing, one supplier responsible for the entire activity and activities carried out by subcontractors. That is the lead supplier model. So even if it is a manufacturing setup, so you procure raw materials or spares or components from multiple suppliers, and you will be a consultant or maybe we can call it as an agent. Agents type of supplier who will consolidate all the supplies and supply it to the manufacturer. So that exactly is the lead supplier model. So we have one more model that is a collaborative partnering model. So you have a choice of several lead suppliers and there will be clear parameters, roles and responsibilities. Here, one person taking in charge or responsibility of all the other suppliers. But here it is not like that. You as a brand will go and collaborate with multiple partners or multiple suppliers, right? So two brands coming together, sharing same culture, same processes, same ideologies. So then it will you will make it happen. So that is collaborative partnering model. So like when Starbucks came here, they came as Tata Starbucks. So it's a collaborative partnering. Jaguar coming and joining hands with Tata. It is a synergy as well, right? So going and rolling out the product, so working together. So one has the brand reputation, other has the quality or value, whatever it is. Both when they join hands together, so the output is going to be synergized. So that is called as the collaborative partnering model. So both requires a lot of planning and the strategies are different in their own way. But then supplier selection has its own cruciality in any of these two models, right? Just know and keep on sourcing. I just don't want to miss out the sourcing part. So that's why I have added this before the distribution network. So multiple sub vendors report to the lead supplier and lead supplier reports to the client. Exactly. Yes, that's what Shipra. So this saves a lot of time and focus for the time and energy for the brand. Because this lead supplier will take care of coordinating with the other supplier. So it is more of like a decentralization. You are decentralizing, you are venting the authority to a lead supplier and maybe 10 lead suppliers in a region having 100 under them and reporting to you. So that is the lead supplier model. Okay, fine. So today this is going to be our coverage. We are going to go and focus on the facility optimization first. Under that, we are going to see about the supply chain network and optimization model and gravity location model. So that is on the facility optimization. And on logistics optimization, we are going to see how efficient or responsive your supply chain is and how to optimize the route and also to go with the location model of your facility. So that is what we are going to see in today's session. And yes, of course, we also have Excel workouts for today's session as well, right? So supply chain network in simple and basic terms. So we all know, so as I discussed earlier in the earlier slide, also procurement. So it is very important for us to know who are your suppliers, where are your suppliers. So that's why any manufacturing sector comes, so OEMs, right? So nearby you can see all the suppliers mushrooming because this is going to minimize your logistics expenses to a greater extent. So that's why SEZ, special economic zones, are identified. And when you go with a factory, establish a factory, and a lot of warehouses and other suppliers, component suppliers also are located closer by. So how are you going to procure the raw materials and the components? So that is what you will plan in the procurement phase. Then coming to the manufacturing. So that is the assembly line. So this manufacturing is going to be the outcome of your demand that is generated from the customer. So that's what we did in the demand forecasting. Firstly, to understand what exactly is the demand for your products in the market and accordingly come back and plan your production schedule. So we call that as MPS, Master Production Schedule. And where will you locate the factories for manufacturing or assembly? Or what is your manufacturing methodology? Usually, if it is a manufacturing of a car, of a leather bag, of a laptop, so you would prefer to locate the facility in the suburban area or away from the metro area because you will have a huge land and yeah, production in terms of land cost can be brought down to a greater extent. And there are other facts and parameters also you will be considering. But then if it is going to be a retail stores or a kirana stores, so where you will prefer to make the facility or location available near to the customers because the product has to be made available and delivered closer quickly to the customer. So that is what finished goods. So where will you hold the inventory? So what is the type of the finished good? Car is also a finished good and a pen is also a finished good. Fine. But then both completely differ based on the completely differ on the distribution network and strategy. There, from the factory, you have only one dealer, and direct then you go on to your customer. So direct distribution. But when it comes to a pen, a paper, a toothpaste, or a toothbrush, so it is one of the FMCG products where you need to go closer to the customer and create visibility, right? Buying car, maybe 1 in 10 customers will buy a car, but all the customers are going to buy toothpaste or any of the FMCG products. So the requirement is more in such a category of a finished products, which demands indirect distribution strategy, wherein you go closer to the customer. You have the wholesaler, dealer, retailer, many retailers, and then you go and reach the customers. So how will you hold inventory? What should be the number of inventory and where should be your warehouses? Closer to the customers, inventory should be very high because you have more centers and more retailers. For with every retailer, you need to hold a certain level of safety stock or inventory. So that is invariably going to increase your overall inventory compared to a product like a car, right? So again, here is where you will decide on all the other strategies related to. And again, how will you distribute to the market? So what is your transportation or distribution technique or how you are going to make use of the logistics? So you will decide accordingly based on the product you are dealing with. Okay. So the role of network design. What is the role of the network design? So what is the role of your facility? So what are the processes? Where is the location? So which markets are you catering to? So which market in the sense if it is an IT, right? So you may be going only with B2B customers, not necessary or required to hold the place in a mall or in a junction where more traffic is there. So because it is not a Starbucks outlet where you want to create visibility. There only the functionality, the functioning and the services what you provide matters a lot. So the location plays a major role here. So do you want to locate it in a mall or so that's why IT parks are coming up. So you know that that is the IT parks and you will have all the IT firms or IT brands located in that, right? So maybe sitting in India and you will be providing services for a client sitting somewhere in US. So that for that to get located or to be your location need not to be in the heart or in a central location in Mumbai or in Delhi. You can sit in a remote location also to provide the services. So which market are you catering to and for that where should you get yourself located? And once that is addressed, what is the capacity allocation? How much are you going to allocate capacity? Again, here for that, what is the industry I belong to? And what is my capacity there? So, if it is a manufacturing or automobile, so what is the capacity allocation? I will go and check from the demand. What is the demand of my car in the market? Again, there too, we talked about Rolls Royce as well as Toyota, right? Demand for Toyota is both, but then though the demand for Rolls Royce is less, but once selling one car Rolls Royce in the market is going to fetch you a year sales of Toyota. Okay, so how much capacity are you going to allocate? So how much capacity again at each location? So this would vary again with the demand in the respective location. So if I'm coming out with a, so what happened? Why Apple started its production in India itself? They could understand that there is a huge demand in the market, as well as other resources also available with a reasonable price, so that both for domestic usage as well as to export to other countries as well, India is going to be a well preferred uh, destination. So that's how we are attracting manufacturers to our country to produce it. Because demand is also more, production cost is also less. So both you can consume internally as well as you can export it to other parts of the globe as well. So what should be the capacity allocation? So I will show you a workout on this capacity allocation to markets as well as the supply destinations. You will better understand. And where are my markets and supply locations? So what are my markets? Where are my markets? So going with the pub and bar. Okay, if I want to open a pub and a bar, obviously I'm not going to open that in a village where there is no market at all for me. I would prefer to open that in a metro city. So where there is a night life, also where more IT employees work, so where people with high disposable income live, so that they would go and prefer for recreational facilities. Malls. So where would I prefer to open a mall? So maybe in a metro city or in a tier two city at least, but not definitely in a village. Right. So in identifying the markets to which I'm catering to also plays a vital role. And revisit design decisions after market changes, mergers, or factor cost change. Not that I have to completely shut my doors down for entry into another market. So maybe in due course there may be a scope developed in that market as well. Right? So slowly, step by step, the process needs to be sorry, scrutinized and then decision being made. Okay? Yeah. So this is what I was taking because Toyota, the brand is one of my favorites. So I always used to take a lot of references from their brand name. Okay. So, to answer all these questions, we need to focus on certain areas. That is the network design decision. How am I taking my network design decisions? So, phase one is always my supply chain strategy. So, how competitive is our strategy to withstand the global competition? And what are my internal constraints? So, Kia, before entering into Indian market, they did a lot of market research because as a product, they were not new to the market, but then as a brand, they were new to the market. So they had to thoroughly understand and create a different between the existing brands. See, otherwise it is going to be yet another brand of car. So how am I different from the other existing brands? So competitive strategy. So I need to have a competitive advantage over other brands, those who are already existing in the Indian market. So that's why they launched one the SUVs with very good ground clearance and with all other value-added facilities, better infotainment facilities. So that were their focus, where they were able to create a niche market for themselves, right? And how much capital do I have to invest for that? What are going to be my production technologies? And now they have ran out of capacity, so they had a capacity to produce 3 lakh unit of cars per year. And having removing the bottleneck, so they expanded their capacity to 4.5 lakh unit per year. But beyond that, that's a saturation. So now they are looking for opening another plant somewhere in Gujarat, Toxin on. So shortly they'll be concluding that too. So that's how. So what is my production technology? So how should I need to expand eventually to increase my production, to increase my capacity, so that I can cater to the demand that is prevailing. If the other way around, the demand has not developed so much, if they were not so a successful brand, then they could have restricted with the single unit itself or facility itself, or even downsize the production capacity. Okay, so these are the outcomes. And phase three is desirable side. So once this is done, these two phases are done. So you will focus on the production method and focus on the infrastructure. What is the infrastructure available? So why certain parts of the countries are preferred to a greater extent to establish the manufacturing facility? So obviously, so state governments also take their own initiatives to attract investments to their state. So otherwise, maybe if you consider Chennai, Pune, all these two are considered as manufacturing hubs. Okay, so you can see plenty of manufacturers located in these two areas or cities, especially because for various reasons. So they had a very good intermodal facility, skilled labor, and they are closer to the port area. So multimodal transportation, good infrastructure available. All these are add-on. So if we ask them, so other perspectives also will be listed by them. So this is how you brands choose their desirable sites, then go in for and then check with the available infrastructure and then go in for the production facilities. The basic aspects the brands has to keep in mind. And they go in for location choices. Not only that, the cost also will be considered. That plays, in fact, a vital role, the cost. Not only the facility cost, but also the logistics cost and the connectivity, multimodal transportation, intermodal transportation. How good is all these logistics functionalities to support their supply chain functionality? So that also will be taken into consideration, and then they will arrive at a framework for the network design. Okay, right. So once that is done, okay, I have come out with a design, and design is fine. But what if the design is fetching me huge investments, huge capital investments, and the cost is going to exorbitantly increase? So that is where I need to keep an eye on optimizing my network. How can I optimize my network on the whole? So combination of factories and distribution centers, matching supply and demand. So not that produce. We are not in the era of producing in bulk, like mass production. In early 1900s, so it was the era of mass production. Nobody was worried about the customization concept. They too had assembly line, Ford, General Motors, all these were there in those days itself in US, and they were producing in bulk, were not worried about the customers' preferences at all. Customers also did not have any other choice of brand, so whatever they were given, they were with no option. They had to accept that. But not so in this scenario, in today's scenario where you have a lot of competitors, a lot of brands. So it becomes very crucial for you to match the supply and demand. Otherwise, you will end up in overstocking. So, which is a very great loss or your unwanted capacity utilization, your capacity going as a waste. Okay, then potential network designs has to be focused upon and designed accordingly. Okay, so this is what you have to keep in mind: the supply chain cost, what a business can reduce. So, one is your logistics or transportation cost, your operational cost, your asset cost, facility cost, inventory cost. These are all the costs an organization can minimize or reduce at any point in time. So one only thing is how is optimizing. How you need to optimize inventory. So thereby going in for just-in-time technique, right? So for each and every cost optimization, you will have an alternative methodology to tame that cost or to bring that cost under control. Use all these strategies so that you can minimize the cost to a greater extent. Okay. And on the other hand, you will have these objectives to make your supply chain perform better. So that is your everything is growth here. Sales growth, service growth, response time, speeding up your response time. So lead time. This lead time always is a botheration. And customer wanted anything immediately. He is not bothered whether it is a Rolls Royce car or it is a pen or it is a even a handkerchief. So you give them immediately. they are happy to the maximum. So to immediately cater to the requirements, how much you need to invest, they are not worried about. This is the same difference between a normal delivery and an express delivery in an online platform. So you opt for an express delivery that comes with an additional cost, right? Okay. So because lot many other parameters has to be worked upon, you have to bundle, you have to consolidate. Fine. So response times always is a factor of focus which needs to be streamlined by any organization and increase the market share and obviously customer satisfaction. These are the outcomes, but these are the internal aspects which you will focus upon to save or minimize cost. But obviously, you do not want to compromise anything on the outcome at all. Okay. So, is network optimization a game changer? Obviously. So, without network optimization, you will not be able to save cost, and obviously, you will end up incurring higher cost for the production where you cannot compromise with the sorry, where you cannot compromise with the okay quality of the product. Fine, you will not be able to compromise with the quality of the product. You need to deliver it in right time, and obviously you will end up with very less profits. Fine. So both are very difficult to balance for you. So that is where you need to focus more on optimizing the network. And these are the four major elements of supply chain: network optimization, physical flow, location intelligence, inventory optimization, and strategic sourcing. Sourcing we saw. So how one need to enhance the focus on the sourcing as an activity on the whole. So once that is done, obviously we saw in the inventory session also how we need to focus and okay, supply chain nodes not being fixed. Where is that? Okay, I'm yet to come there, Subra. Yeah. I will tell you. So I'm still here only. The four major elements of supply chain network: the physical flow, where it is the uh, logistics leg. You ensure last mile delivery. The location is where exactly you need to be located as a factory or as a point of sale, and how much inventory you need to hold, and how strategic your sourcing activity has to be planned. So these are very, very crucial aspects for your optimization activity on the whole. So what will change? So this can be your network optimization. Now having understood the network optimization is a crucial activity and the need of the hour. So how can we do that? It can be done at three levels. One is the physical flow optimization. The other one is flow plus location optimization. And the third one is flow plus location plus inventory optimization. Going with any of these three methods, you can optimize. So supply chain nodes are fixed. So to know these nodes are fixed, we need to go with the later slide where I will be clearly defining on what are nodes and what are arcs. Nodes are nothing but the touch point. It can be a factory, it can be a warehouse, or it can be a customer touch point also where you need to cover all the nodes to fulfill your activity, right? These are fixed. Your customers are living everywhere. You are an Amazon service provider, e-commerce service provider, and every customer is a node here. And the customers are fixed at their point. So you need to go and deliver it to them. Okay. So how you are going to optimize that physical flow? So which route you have to take? How you have to reach the customer? So usually when we also leave from home to office, so nowadays we all have developed a habit of checking the traffic, and obviously you will be having multiple routes to reach some destination. So you will take the route which is fastest, or which is shortest, or which is with less traffic and all that. So because you will save time, also fuel. So that is how you need to optimize your physical flow. So that's what is being said. So in the later slides, we will cover that clearly. Then it is the flow plus location optimization. Flow we saw. Then what is the location? Here, when you go with this, here the supply chain nodes are not fixed here. There, when you go with physical flow optimization, so your customer points are fixed there. Fine. So, but here in the location optimization, if your nodes are not fixed, then your ideal location should be simulated for the most efficient mapping. So that means your customer is not at one point. So today you are delivering to one customer and tomorrow you are delivering to another customer. Even Amazon is not delivering to me always, right? There are multiple customers. So here the location keeps on changing. So maybe if you take, so if you same customer ordering daily, then you can consider supply chain nodes are fixed. Otherwise, contrarily, you can replace these nodes to be from an individual customer to a retail unit. See, a departmental store, there the node is fixed. The customer comes to the departmental store to buy something. Here, your supply chain nodes are fixed. The selling point is fixed. But here, the supply chain nodes are not fixed because you will be having different customers daily. Okay. So how you're going to optimize the location there? For every customer, you need to go and deliver the product. So that's where they have brought in the concept of dark stores. Taking the warehouse or distribution facilities go closer to the customer location so that I can minimize my logistics cost. And the third optimization is flow plus location plus inventory optimization. See here, location, mapping, and inventory all are variables here. So everything is completely different here. My customer locations are different and my customer requirements are also different. One customer is asking for a mobile phone, the other customer is ordering chips packet in big basket. See the range of the cost involved. Okay, and the level of purchase is also involved. So that is where I have to go with the multi-echelon approach. Multi-echelon is nothing but having distributing the inventory levels with different supply chain partners, like not holding the inventory at one point, but then you are making your wholesaler hold some inventory, retailer hold some inventory, and again the maybe the dark stores hold some inventory. But seeing to that more inventory is skewed towards the customer touch point so that they will get it quickly. That is the lead time is brought down, right? So that is where you have to focus on flow plus location plus inventory optimization. All the three aspects. So this will change based on the business you are into. Okay. First model, you will go with sourcing and value chain. And flow plus location optimization, you will go with flow and sourcing and value chain as well as warehouse consolidation too. And when you optimize inventory as well, so inventory levels at warehouses and stores, everything has to be calculated, taken into consideration. So how to flow plus location optimization and flow plus location plus inventory optimization different in terms of supply chain structure? It is little ambiguous. Could you please explain? Right. See here, see both are to some extent same. But here the product is, here we were talking about the multi-echelon inventory when it comes to flow plus location plus inventory optimization. See, you have a Chroma store, or else I will go with the brand. You have a Samsung AC, and the Samsung AC is available online also, and the Samsung AC is available in a retail stores also. So if you take, for example, and the Samsung AC is available in the Samsung factory outlet also. So this is where we call as a what is that multi-echelon, creating multi-echelon inventory at different level, and we also call this as a hybrid model of making the product available. Okay, so you are making the product available online, offline, factory outlet, hybrid distribution. We call this method as a hybrid distribution model, right? So here you take flow plus location optimization. Supply chain nodes are not fixed. So here, if the Samsung AC is bought on online platform, here the customer nodes are not fixed. You have to deliver it to every customer touch point. Right. So multiple sellers available, multiple buyers also available in different places. Okay. Fine. So that is where you have to focus on your flow plus location optimization. Here, flow plus location plus inventory optimization. Inventory is one aspect which is again added to this. See, the basics are flow plus location only. Where you are focusing on inventory is like for the stores. To sell the Samsung AC in Chroma stores, you require a level of inventory to be held at the Chroma stores. And to online also, you need to hold a level of inventory to be held at a warehouse. Okay, for online. And then for Samsung factory outlet, again, you need to have an inventory, a level of inventory on Samsung owned warehouses or maybe a private warehouse also. So that is where you go with a multi-echelon inventory. The different places holding different levels of inventory. The model, see, actually, the brand may be the same, the product may be the same. The model through which you are making the product reach the customer is going to differ here. Yes. So, service level of selling point or dynamically determined real time of what in the third case? Okay, in the third case, that is flow plus location plus inventory optimization, you are saying. Yes, service level of selling point or dynamically determined in real time. I'm not clear with your question, Shubhra. I can put another perspective also in this. See, you think about the SKUs, stock keeping units. You have multiple stock keeping units because you are going with the multi-echelon inventory approach. And in every stock keeping unit, you need to hold the level of inventory. And in every SKU, you cannot hold the same level of inventory. See, for example, you have Reliance Trends, and there are multiple Reliance Trends in a city. Fine. And a Reliance Trends located in a hot location. Maybe you take for Mumbai, I'm not familiar with the local areas. So maybe if you take in Delhi, you have a Reliance Trends in Sarojini Nagar market and you have one in Noida and Gurgaon. See, now Noida and Gurgaon also have come up for have a promising sales. But then take an area which is where the stores are located in a hot location, you have more footfalls and more sales. May not be the same case in a Reliance Trends which is located in a suburban area, right? And your inventory optimization technique has to be differently done for a hot location or in a central location of Reliance Trends and a suburban location of Reliance Trends. So you need to focus on that. You need to plan, come out with an activity, fix up a different safety stock level, different inventory level. You cannot just, since it's a Reliance brand, fix up uniform level of inventory everywhere. So that is not what we call as inventory optimization, right? Going and apportionately understand what is the, here is where your demand and supply mapping comes. Okay, what is the sale and what is the demand and what is the supply? So you need to map that accordingly, optimize the inventory level for different branches, for different brands. So you can, for different products, you can take this as an example for anything there. Okay, so this is how you need to do the network optimization as an exercise. So once you have done all these things, you are clear with that, then going and fixing up the levels of inventory becomes comparatively easier. Why is it need of the hour? Obviously, because any small change in the cost of inventory, because this is overall going to improve the supply chain performance and minimize the supply chain cost. Imagine, excuse me, sorry. Okay. So obviously you are going to focus on minimizing the supply chain cost, thereby enhancing the performance of the supply chain. So imagine taking the previous example of having multiple outlets for Samsung AZ, and you are also having different SKUs and warehouses also. And in every warehouse, you are going with the inventory optimization technique, and you understand the hot location in the city is generating maybe 100% sales or maybe 100 units. Let us take a number 100 units of sales per week. And in the outlet, which is located in a suburban area, that is making only 10 units of sale in a week. So there, you will go with the logic of fixing up the percentage of inventory. Maybe 1% inventory for 100 sales is going to be 1, or maybe 10% inventory, it is going to be 10. And 10% inventory for a unit making 10 units of sale is going to be number one. So this is where the optimization technique comes, and coming or going with the percentage allocation of inventory level helps you out greatly. Right there, you are not going to go with the numbers. So you randomly or uniformly, you are not going to allocate 10 units are going to be the safety stock there. Okay, because every percentage difference is going to contribute greatly to the cost savings. So what will happen to the cost if we increase capacity by 10 percentage? Again, what is the capacity? Is it the facility capacity of the facility or overall capacity of my production? So if again can be increased, so it is not that I'm going to stagnate in the level of my production itself. What happened to Kia? They increase their production. And why they increase the production is because there is a demand in the market. So what if the capacity is going to increase by 10 percentage? I'm going to incur additional cost, right? So incurring additional cost have to be compensated with additional sales. So otherwise, this is going to be a cost which I'm going to incur, which has to be divided with the existing stock alone, and which will be a burden on the customers as well as me. Either my profit margin will come down, or else my customer is going to be taxed more. So what will happen if transportation cost increase by 3%? Here is where it is beyond your control. Here too, obviously, you will end up optimizing that by going in for your consolidation of shipment, cross-docking functionalities, full truckload, we call that FTL, LTL, full truckload, less than truckload, going milk run concept, going with the milk run concept, so avoiding empty runs. Why manufacturers or brands are refraining from the logistics activity? Because some other expert is there to do the activity on behalf of you. And when they are a third party logistician, it is not your brand alone whom they are catering to. They will be catering to multiple brands, so that to a greater extent you can avoid LTL shipments. LTL shipments, avoiding that, per unit cost of transportation is going to come down. So that is the savings in cost, transportation cost you will make. So that is where, though your transportation cost obviously keeps on increasing, because that is directly related to the variable cost proportion as well, fuel and all that. But then where you can optimize that is by ensuring the FTL shipments and consolidation. So what will happen to revenue if we minimize inventory size by 20%? Here is where, in the inventory session, if you go back, we discussed on different classification models. So why we did all those models is to majorly ensure where and all I can minimize my inventory to a greater extent, right? And every single percentage optimizing of inventory is going to reflect, or is going to give us an output of huge savings. Outcomes are going to be so very good. Because when we talk in 1 or 100 units, the amount may not be pleasing for you. But when Amazon or Walmart are dealing millions of products, so imagine 1% savings in inventory size. Imagine how would be the cost involved and how would be the change in the revenue that is occurring. Okay, that makes a greater impact. And what if scenario? So what if scenario obviously has to be done in any business. What if this go wrong, plan A goes wrong? So you will have something uh, in tandem with an as an alternative, so which goes in for correction. Make so these are steps. So that's why. So this one I just wanted to spend more time on. The other things are self-explanatory. Make contingency plan. So any exigencies, anything I talk about contingency, immediately pandemic comes to my mind. So that was the occasional scenario where we went in for alternatives. So we saw about Amul's case study as well. So they made lot of everything. Whatever you talk here, the Amul has already made, and during the pandemic. So they went in for contingency planning. They hired idle plants and manufactured double the capacity of them. So all these are part of contingency plan and day strategies for companies' growth. So this is futuristic. An acquisition merger. See again, collaborative partnership model and optimizing production and sourcing decision. The first slide, so where you need to focus on your sourcing activity. So that's why network optimization is obviously need of the hour. Because whenever we take the word optimization, that obviously travel together with cost minimization or focus on cost. And everywhere you go, you take a tour also, and you say that I need better quality, I need better value for the product. Obviously, we will come and sit on the cost factor. What is the cost incurred? So where I can minimize the cost factor here, thereby not compromising with the quality. So that's always an important criteria. For that, one more aspect I need to focus upon is on my supply chain performance. What is my supply chain performance, or is my supply chain efficient or responsive? So for that we need to understand what is efficient supply chain and what is responsive supply chain. So if I go with an example, you will better understand Amazon. So they are efficient supply chain because having dealing with millions of products, they focus majorly on the processes involved to reach the product to the customer. So every step they focus on optimization. Very high quality partners, and inventory has to be managed very, very cautiously. Obviously, customer satisfaction. But then, one second. When it comes to responsive supply chain, actually, this has to come here. Okay. Though in responsive supply chain too, yeah. So in efficient supply chain too, I focus on customer satisfaction. But when it comes to responsive supply chain, the customer satisfaction plays a vital role. For example, Apple. Okay, every year during September, October, we know there is going to be a new launch of an Apple variant. So, considering the previous model and taking the inputs and feedback from the customers, and also the considering the changes in the technology front that is happening, Apple constantly comes with change in technology or design. So, for them, the priority is the customer satisfaction. So, responsive supply chain's priority is customer satisfaction, whereas an efficient supply chain, yes, of course, I do care about the customer satisfaction, but I focus more on optimizing the processes, optimizing the cost, and optimizing the inventory. So everything, anything you talk, I talk in the language of optimization there with efficient supply chain. But in responsive supply chain, it is customer satisfaction. And I also need to ensure my order I deliver to my customer is accurate. You order for 100 bowls, nut and bolt, okay? The 100 nuts and bolts are delivered but with a different specification. So what is the point? Or else same specification nuts and bolts are delivered but only 50 in number. Order is not accurate. So my responsive supply chain focuses on this dimension and criteria. Unscalable fulfillment, that is what the fulfillment from the customer end. And how am I going to measure that fulfillment? Yes, I have a rating scale. And communication. How quickly I'm getting communicated so that I act quickly so as to avoid the bullwhip. Recollect the bullwhip effect we saw in the inventory session. So communication is to be considered very, very effective in this responsive supply chain. So once I'm clear, so as a brand, what am I going with? So what is Zara's positioning, and what is High Style's positioning, and what is the positioning of the Zudio now, of late, by Tata? So if responsive supply chain doesn't focus on optimization, then will it be sustainable for a business to continue with it? If yes, how? See, it is not that I'm excluding that fact totally. So that's what I'm coming with an example here. So my core focus is going to be customer satisfaction. See, obviously, do you think Apple will not focus on optimization at all? Won't they streamline their process of sourcing, procurement, or assembly line production? Obviously, this also will happen. But over and above all these things, Rolls Royce also will be focusing on optimization. But my priority, my key area of focus is customization and customer satisfaction. The rank order will differ. It is not that optimization will not be a concern at all in responsive supply chain. That is there. What is the difference between the positioning of Tanish and other jewelers, Kalyan jewelers? All the brands are selling gold jewelry, and that too a surprising factor is Unlike Rolls-Royce or Toyota, so that where we have heaven difference between the quality, performance, and the preferences of the customer, here gold is the same, right? It is hallmark, and you have a universal or at least a national rate for the entire gold fixed. But beyond that, how Tanishq is able to position that itself as a niche brand or an elite brand, and not Kalyan Jewellers, not similar to that, right? So this is what. Do you think optimization will not be a focus area for Tanishq also? Definitely. But then their priority is their customer satisfaction with stylish and elegant designs. Okay. Their priorities take a different order. Everywhere optimization. That's why here I rearrange. Customer satisfaction is a focus area for efficient supply chain too. Otherwise, why am I going to be there in business? I can proudly say my processes are very good. Walmart, efficient supply chain. Amazon, efficient supply chain. Okay. And Amazon can't say that I'm not bothered about the, what is that, order fill accuracy or the inventory levels at all. Over a period of time, they will run into laws and they will become bankrupt. There too, they have to plan or bother too much on customer satisfaction, making the products available. See, inventory I have to manage. Also, I need to ensure my customers are satisfied with having sufficient inventory. So that is where I have to make a trade-off with overstocking and understocking. So the simulation game you played, right? So there it was an indication. Overstocking was half of the cost of understocking. Losing the customer is more costlier than having additional stock. Everywhere it is a trade-off. And here, whenever we talk any of the supply chain concepts, there is no yes or no direct answer. No yes or no. It completely
Correct,
going to
correct.
differ and vary upon the situations and the brands we taken for consideration. Yeah, Subrat, you were talking something?
Uh, Ma'am, this is Shubhankar. Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure, sure.
Ma'am, you said overstocking is more expensive than understocking some time back.
Mm-hmm.
But the current simulation, the we did Harvard simulation, okay, on the
Correct,
supply chain. According to that, the cost of backlog is a lot more than cost of inventory.
correct.
So, I mean, as per that game, the result was kind of quite opposite of that.
Okay. Okay. Are you asking why is it designed in such a way, Shubhankar?
No, even I was aligned with that understanding
Uh-huh.
that cost of backlog means the orders that I am not able to deliver that will lead to customer dissatisfaction, losing the
Correct,
client, lost
correct,
revenue, all three,
correct,
right?
correct,
But whereas having the additional inventory, cost of inventory is there. I am bearing a cost for that, but at least I'm ensuring that my business growth is there. I am meeting my top line, bottom line, correct?
correct,
And bottom line is getting impacted because of the inventory cost, but I'm definitely meeting my top line. And
correct.
but if so, I think it is better to have the cost of inventory rather
Mhm.
than minimize it and bear the cost of backlog. I mean, we have to balance, of course. We have to balance.
Okay. See, minimizing the inventory is going to end you up in backlog. Okay, you are saying the other way. So I can prefer to maximize my inventory and avoid backlog.
Yes, maximize as in we have to strike a balance, but
Balance.
at the same time, what I'm trying to say is we have to, given a chance, we have to make sure we have to bear some cost on the inventory, but
Right,
rather minimize the cost on the backlog side.
right. Okay. See, actually, this is a beautiful topic for debate as well. Because with my students also, we used to take serious debates on this inventory levels. But then, different, you again, there is no one solution for all the brands. See, this also has to be viewed from the point of brands. And also, what is the brand? And how is the competition for that brand? What is the product then what is the brand, and how is the competition? See, if it is going to be a car, again, obviously, compared to 100 years back, we have more number of brands flooding in the market. Actually, this happened personally with me also. When I went to book a Mahindra XUV 700, they said the waiting time is 1 year. So today's customers are not at all brand loyal. So if not this brand, they immediately wanted to switch over to another brand. Gone are those days where a customer was willing to wait for a longer duration of time to acquire that specific brand or product. So that is why in today's scenario, the inventory also the positioning of inventory also has completely changed. And that is why here we are saying, and that too, if they see, obviously Mahindra XUV has lost a customer worth rupees 15, 16 lakhs. And in fact, I have gone and invested that money in another brand which was readily available and with whatever specifications I wanted also was fulfilled. So maybe next time I may not be buying a Mahindra XUV at all. So the customer lost customer value. So here is where I need to compare losing the cost of the customer, cost of losing a customer with the cost of holding my inventory. Here, in the case of a car, which is a high value product, cost of losing a customer is 15 lakhs or 16 lakhs. Holding inventory, what is the cost? Here exactly I cannot define the inventory cost now because a lot of other factors. See, in between, why the waiting period of such cars went so increased so rapidly is because of the semiconductor issue, right? And semiconductor as a single spares or component, the cost of that is very, very less. But still, so I'm just saying, so there might be other attributes also which is adding for the increase in lead time. If all those things considered, so if one land up in calculating the cost of inventory and cost of losing a customer, you have to compare and see. And this is for a car, so where at least once in 5, 6 years we may buy. Imagine an FMCG product, a toothpaste or a toothbrush or even a soap or a shampoo. You enter inside a shop and they say like Tresemme shampoo is not available. So immediately what you will do is you will switch over. See, again, I'm going on an average. There are exemptions. Brand loyals are very, very few nowadays. So you go to the departmental store asking for a Tresemme shampoo. So he says that that is not available. Instead, I have a panty. So you will buy that and come. Fine. You are not going to wait. Or else, if the shopkeeper says that I don't have any shampoo at all, or else tomorrow, next day morning, you come, I will get you the shampoo. None of us have the patience of waiting. I come out disappointed. Not only that, I go to another shop and buy that immediately. But then,
Agree.
as a next task, obviously we do that, right? None of us wanted to wait for a longer period of time. And next task, what we do is any trespasser or any friend of mine coming, so we would spread a negative word of mouth saying that don't go to that shop, nothing is available. Only shampoo wasn't available, but we end up saying or communicating nothing is available, don't go there. So the value of lost customer value. In terms of that, when you calculate, backlog costs are always very costly. And over and above that, see the level of investment you have to make in advertisements, endorsements, billboards, signboards. So these costs also add on, gets adding on when you calculate the cost of losing the customer
So
because you
the
have put
cost
in a
of
lot of effort.
advertisement, the cost of advertisement to bring back the
Ah,
lost customer, you are saying, correct?
correct.
Got
And
it.
bringing a lost customer back is very, very tough because this, what you're asking exactly is applicable some 50, 60 years back. No, but there, instead of holding better inventory or holding less inventory was always a priority. And when you go back in late 1930s, that was the time Toyota came into production. And what was their strategy? Just in time. They didn't want to go for inventory at all. They wanted zero inventory. That is just in time inventory only. Even now, Toyota also is not going for 100% just in time inventory because so much is the competition. When in the automotive sector and industry itself is so much of competition, you think about the FMCG products, retail brands, apparels. So all the competition has mushroomed so much. See, Big Basket, for example. They came with a delivery style or mechanism wherein you order the previous day before 9 p.m. Next day morning they will deliver. But then what happened? The Blinkit, Zepto, and all those the Flipkart, Instamart, all this player came and they introduced 10 to 20 minutes delivery. Imagine what could have happened for Big Basket if they had remained on their same style of delivering the products next day. They would have definitely lost the customers to other brands. They also had to modify the brand. Yes, I will also go with quick commerce. I will also deliver it within 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and all that. See, here is where the inventory positioning or the optimization focus in supply chain for inventory itself has taken a U-turn. So that's why now we focus
Right.
more on having or neither what avoiding backlog rather than to having inventory more.
Right, ma'am. That was precisely my understanding as well, and I just wanted to confirm that. And
Correct,
the
correct,
the
correct,
the
correct.
the BB, yeah, the BB example you gave, probably that might not hold very good here, because the reason is they don't anyway maintain a inventory. What they
Ah,
do is they just pick the product from one seller and deliver it to the buyer. Anyway, that inventory concept doesn't apply to them, what I think. And second thing, the Tata example that you gave, Tata Safari, that is very much correct. Yes, I mean, that is truly correct. In my case also same thing happened, and in fact I bought another. I mean, I bought Tata. You gave the example
Mahindra,
of XUV,
Mahindra.
Mahindra XUV, right?
Mm.
Same thing, same thing. I completely totally agree with that. Definitely, ma'am. Thank you very much. And I
Okay,
have
okay.
one more quick question. The
Yeah.
simulation that Howard simulation that we are doing, we should be every time we do a simulation, we get multiple runs. At least the first run where we get acquainted and second run. So this time also I tried that, but after the first run, I did not get any run at all.
Is that so?
Yes, yes, ma'am. And I raised a ticket also now sometime back, because the first run is when we normally get acquainted to the particular simulation.
Okay.
Second run is when we give our best and
Okay.
do
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
all the.
No, this one also in the briefing session, I was clearly saying that you will have two runs. One is the trial run, and the final run score only will be taken into consideration. Immediately after today's session, I will raise this ticket to them.
Thank you,
Okay.
ma'am. I mean,
Yeah, yeah. I
if
will
they
see
are,
that the final run is open for all of you immediately.
yeah, I just want to ask Subrata or anybody in this session if they can confirm if the problem is same for them also, or they have got two runs.
Yeah, Subrat, can you kindly help Shibankar on
Uh,
this? So,
I faced the same issue. I
okay.
lost a ticket and they enabled the second run for me 2 days ago. So I suppose if you have raised a ticket, probably they will enable the second run for you.
Oh,
Okay, no,
but
no, no. So I will raise the ticket because this has to be done for all the participants and scholars, right? So it is not that you raise the ticket and then it will be enabled. So
yeah,
I will
ma'am.
take care
And
of that.
another
I
thing
will
is,
initiate.
ma'am, the problem here is tomorrow is the deadline, and
Yeah, okay. No, no. In that case, don't
mm,
worry about the deadline, Shubhankar. So if that is the case, so that also will be taken care by them. Don't worry. Immediately
okay.
after this session, I will escalate it to them.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Shubhankar, thank you. And one more clarification is the BB, the big basket reference I took, not for the inventory, but for the strategy they changed. Okay, because earlier they had the strategy of accepting orders the previous day and ordering the delivering the products next day. That was the strategy. But then, since others also were going for the immediate delivery strategy, they had to alter the strategy. So that was the strategy reference taken there, but not the inventory reference. Yes, of course, for the Mahindra one, I took the reference for the inventory perspective.
Got it, ma'am. Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Yeah, Shivankar. The simulation, don't worry, immediately after the class, I will raise a ticket.
Awesome. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Fine. A small exhibit on with a reference to efficient as well as supply responsive supply chain before we go for a break. After which we are going to see a lot of Excel workouts, how using data we are going to optimize the facility as well as the location also. So as I told you, Walmart, efficient supply chain versus Apple's responsive supply chain. So efficient supply chains always are designed for better efficiency, lower cost, minimizing inventories, maximizing efficiency. So process is going to be the focus here for efficient supply chains. Mostly, if you take all the FMCG products, FMCG companies, e-commerce companies, all these will fall in line or will be practicing the efficient supply chain practices. Responsive, on the other hand, they focus on flexibility. They wanted to be responsive. They wanted to respond well. So make to order, right? They respond to the customer requirements. Obviously, you cannot, if you calculate the inventory cost, that will be slightly on the higher part for your responsive supply chain. But that too, they will have a cap. Optimization is the mantra for both the supply chains, but percentage variations or differences are going to be there between these two supply chains. Okay, right. So this is on Walmart's efficient supply chain. How is it so successful? Early investment in supply chain optimization. They did fine-tuning the supply chain system and developing strong relationship with vendors. See, this is what Toyota also did with their just-in-time strategy, having or developing a very cordial relationship with their suppliers. Starbucks does this right from procurement of the coffee bean from their suppliers. They train their suppliers. Nike does this. And yeah, Walmart has done this. Amazon does this. So having a very strong relationship with their vendors and suppliers and making them. So once you introduce the VMI concept, that is vendor managed inventory. So obviously in due course, you will fall in line with inventory optimization as well, though you may be belonging to the efficient supply chain category, so that or a responsive supply chain category, that too in due course you can streamline the operations and optimize your inventory to a greater extent. So again, as I said, BMI, they did, then capitalizing on the power of technology. See, without technology, all these things are not going to happen. And thanks to the advancement in the technology, where it has created visibility, where it has created transparency across the communication network, so things have become very agile. And product delivery and reaching the products to the customer also has shortened to a greater extent. Okay. Going on to Zara. So Walmart was the efficient supply chain. Zara is the responsive supply chain. So their models, we all know Zara's style is different from the other and very unique. And the shelf life of Zara's design is very shorter. Maybe 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks only the single design will persist in the shelf. Then you go the next time, so you will not find the same designs or same type of products available. So that is their positioning, that is their model. And what they have done for that is uh, 4 to 6 weeks. Uh, design time was 4 to 6 weeks, and existing items can be modified in 2 weeks. They kept their manufacturers and suppliers closer by. So once they understand the design changes and preferences from the market through this clubs, social gatherings, and all that. It takes 4 to 6 weeks for them to design it, and it takes 2 to 3 weeks time for them to float it in the market. And their logistics operations and legs also was very powerful. So that once immediately after the production, it is being distributed across the globe, and they have 12 inventory turns per year. So we call this as inventory turnover ratio. Higher the turnover inventory turnover ratio is always better, because so many times your inventory is getting replenished. So that means it is fast moving. Uh, any turnover ratio between 1 and 3 is considered to be moderate. Lesser than 1% inventory turnover is very poor. Any turnover ratio above 3% as per industry standards is considered to be good. Amazon and all has 10 to 12 inventory turnover. So that's a very good number. Zara too has very high inventory turnover ratio. That means quickly their designs are getting sold. That's a good indication. Okay. And yeah, so this is the cube model what they designed. It is a global distribution center. They had their raw material suppliers closer by, fashion designers, those who are constantly updating Zara with the changes in the customer preferences, and clothing factories, store managers. So all these were surrounded, and the cube was centrally located, having 360-degree access to all this. So this was helping them out to a greater extent to minimize the lead time. And when the manufacturing center is there, so they had the logistics. So you all know it's a Spain-based brand. The logistics hub also was located in such a way that they have a very good connectivity to the other parts of the world. And they also went in for manufacturing abroad also, like 50% manufactured in Spain, 26 in rest of Europe, and 24 in Asia and Africa. So this also helped them out to a greater extent, and this was a strategy overall for them to keep their supply chain responsive, right? Fine. So the stores take deliveries twice per week, and items come off delivery trucks and go directly onto the sales floor. So minimizing the intermediary so that the designs go quickly and directly to the sales floor and gets sold as well. Yeah, yes. It's manufactured based on highly accurate short-term 2 to 6 week demand forecast. Obviously, forecasting also is being done. And since this is a fashion industry, they always have a threat of fashion changing very quickly. So often we say, no, that's an old-fashioned dress. And every 6 months also fashion changes. So that's why the life period of the fashion for Zara is kept very, very less compared to other brands as well. Fine. Okay, so with that, we are moving on to understand the models for facility location. So we will see the models and we will also see the workup after this short break of 5 minutes. Okay, 5 minutes will come because we finish off the workouts and left out slides today, and I'll also throw some light on the term end examination. Shall we resume? Fine. So going forward, we are going to discuss on the models for facility location and capacity allocation. See, for example, if there is no demand in a specific location, so for any specific product, or else keep it in this way, we are producing carpets. So in a very, very sunny region of, see again, availability of resources is the next factor. And we are in the global scenario of procuring any form of raw materials from any part of the globe. But then considering the demand, so that also plays a vital role where it consumes less time to take or carry the finished products to the customer. Okay, producing carpet in a sunny location. So where the demand for the carpet is not at all there in a hottest location, doesn't makes any doesn't add any sense. So that's where making the location or making location decisions or facility location decisions plays a vital role. And next immediate point to be considered there is capacity. Locating the facility and how much capacity am I going to locate for that facility? Both plays a vital role when we discuss on the network design models. So that's what we are going to network design models use to decide on location and capacity and to assign current demand to facilities and identify transportation lanes. So these are the factors you need to keep in mind. Let us do that with the help of a Excel workup. So we call this as capacitated plant location model. Where should I? Do you think Apple or Rolls Royce or Toyota or Kia Motors or any Gucci bags, all these or Nike shoes? So before going in and establishing any production facilities, won't they do or won't they come out with an understanding or formulate a strategy before they take location decisions? If yes, then what are the aspects or parameters they do consider? So one is the cost involved. Next is the demand. Next of ease of doing business, availability of skill, labor, multimodal transportation. All the other parameters are going to follow, right? So keeping all those things in mind, let us see how a capacitated plant location model will work out. Or it is going to help us in taking location decisions. Manually, if we are going to do this formula. We have to use this formula. But then we are not going to do that here. We are going to understand with the support of the Excel worksheet. So here, yeah, so these are explained keeping manual workout in mind, but just know and keep. I will take you to the Excel worksheet now. Okay. Is my Excel sheet visible? Right. Okay. This is an example of a car manufacturer. Um, so, so demand for car is given here, and these are the supply regions. Supply regions they have taken as the continents. So North America, South America, Europe, Asia, and Africa. So these is where they wanted the manufacturing facility. And how you will decide is based on the demand. So this is the demand. Demand is given in uh, million of units. So see here, so here, demand given in demand units is given in millions. That is 12 million units of demand, 8 million demand in South America, 14 million in Europe, 16 million in Asia, and 7 million in Africa. And this is the cost involved. Okay, $81,000 to produce 1 million units and sell in North America. So $81,000 to produce and sell in North America. 30 sorry $92,000 to produce in North America and to sell in South America. So likewise for every location, this Data on these figures are also given. These are all given figures. And they also have given us the fixed cost. Okay, variable cost initially is not considered here for calculation. So let us go with the fixed cost. So fixed cost, and again, the capacity can be low capacity or high capacity plant. Assuming that the low capacity plant is capable of producing 10 million units and high capacity plant 20 million units. The fixed cost is $6,000 and for a low capacity plant, and yeah, it marginally increases, but not, it will not double for a high capacity plant. It increases to $9,000. These are also given figures. Okay, all these figures are given with which we are going to work out. Okay, so these are the given figures. What is demand row exactly? Demand is nothing but the demand for that car in that market. Okay, 12 million unit of cars is demanded in the North American region per year. And 8 million units of cars are demanded in the South American region. And so is the case with other locations as well. Okay, clear? This is given. And demand is in units, millions of units. Okay, and cost is in thousands of dollars. Fine. So we need to find out, so where exactly I can go with, or what capacity can I have for a respective location having the supply and demand match. So for that, I need to consider certain criteria. Yeah. Okay. So here, there are some decision variables which is going to help me out in deciding how many millions of units can I produce in the respective country. Should I have a small plant? Should I have a large plant? So this is where I want the workout to suggest how many units of production I can go into. Okay, so this we will find out later. There are constraints because there may be excess capacity or less capacity also. Because the low capacity is to produce 10 million units and high capacity to produce 20 million units. But demand exactly is not 10 or 20 million. There are in some places 12 million units, which is slightly higher than the low capacity plant, but lower than the high capacity plant. So there may be instances you will end up with excess capacity or low capacity also. So let us see among those 5 places, so which has excess capacity or low capacity. But the condition here is you can have excess capacity to cater the demand, but then you should not run out of capacity. That is, you should not have low capacity wherein you will not be in a position to cater to the demand. That is the thumb rule. Okay, no customer disappointment. You can have excess capacity, but should not let go your customers. Then unmet demand now is whatever is given here. Then late, after solving the what is that, the problem situation, we want this field to be zero. That means all the demand has to be met. That is the precondition. Okay, so as of now, I have just equated whatever is there here. But later, once we fill this excess capacity, that will obviously calculate and tell us the final figure. So that is where C10, C10 is nothing but here minus sum of C14 to C18, whatever I get in North America. Then for South America, accordingly, D10, what I'm getting here, minus sum of D14 to D18. I have put the formula, but now it will show the same demand only. Okay, that is one. So first, unmet demand, all my unmet demand has to become zero. That is one condition. Then total number of plants. As of now, I do not know whether I have to go with small plant or large plant, that is low capacity plant or high capacity plant. But the total plant has to be a combination of these two. Okay, this plus this is going to be my total plant. So that is going to be for all the locations. The next is, as I told you, excess capacity. So excess capacity you can have, but you should not leave anything unmet. Okay. So excess capacity, H14 here is nothing but your small plant. Okay. Small plant multiplied by with I5, that is low capacity, plus large plant multiplied by with high capacity minus the sum of C14 to G14. C14 to G14 is nothing but whatever allocation I'm doing for the respective plants. Okay. Small plant, low capacity, plus large plant multiplied with high capacity minus the sum of whatever I'm going to allocate here or system is going to allocate here after we solve the function is going to be the what is that excess capacity here. Okay, so let's see that also. I have fed all the formulas and kept for easy understanding. And I want the final answer to be here. That is, here we are going to crack the solution using crack this problem using solver solution. And to use solver as a solution, so always remember you need to have the objective function as a formula. The cell where you wanted the system to suggest the answer should contain a formula. Otherwise, the system solver will not accept that. And what here you wanted to identify is cost. Cost is going to be the sum product of all the production, the high capacity, the low capacity, the fixed cost, the variable, sorry, fixed cost for low capacity, fixed cost for high capacity. Everything put together is going to be the cost. Okay, so that's why we have taken sum product of C5 to G9. C5 to G9 is the demand, that is the cost that is given to produce the respective unit in the respective continent is given here. That you are taking C5 to G9 cost and C14 to G18. So this is where you are going to allocate the plants. Okay, some product of C5 to G9 and C14 to G18 plus some product of H14 to H18. What is that? Your high capacity or small plant. Small plant and your H5 to H9 is fixed cost for small plant plus some product of large plant plus large plant and your fixed cost for large plant. So here, since it is a cost function, you are calculating all the cost aspect. Earlier we took the capacity of the plant and now for small plant, you are multiplying with the small plant's fixed cost. And for large plant, you are multiplying with the large plant's fixed cost and also the cost involved to produce these many number of units in the respective location. So everything you are calculating and putting here as the cost. So once all these formulas has been fed, so now we will go on to make the solver function. Let us understand if this is what I have to do, optimize everything and all that. So what is the suggestion of plans my Excel solver is giving me? So click solver. Always remember when you click solver, you have to keep the cursor on the cell where you want the objective function to appear. So set objective as this at this cell. Okay, here what we wanted to do, obviously to optimize the cost. That means minimize. Cost has to be minimum. It cannot be maximum. Okay, where you want to change the variables, this is the place or these are the cells I wanted to change all the variables. That means C14 to J18. So this is where I want solver to suggest the number of plants. So by changing variables in these cells, then I have lot many constraints. So as I told you, a thumb rule that I can have excess capacity, but I need to cater all the demand. So let us see one by one constraint. So my unmet demand should be 0. That means all my demand has to be met. So here what unmet demand we have given here. So that is what I have mentioned. Okay, I will just show that alone. I will do that and show you. Okay. Constraint part alone. My unmet demand should be 0. That is the constraint number 1. So add the constraint. What is the unmet demand? So this is the unmet demand. Should be equal to 0. Okay. So that is one constraint. Then what is the next constraint? My excess capacity can be greater than or equal to 0. Okay, add a constraint. So where is the excess capacity? This is the excess capacity. My excess capacity can be greater than or equal to 0, but not lesser than that. Okay, click done. I have added that constraint as well. Then low and high capacity plants should be binary. So that means any number I should get. Either I can get 0 or I can get 1, but then not anything else, no negative and all that. So that is why I'm giving my low one high capacity plants should be binary. Okay, fine. Then what is my last constraint is all decision variables can be greater than or equal to 0. So this is where I have my decision variables, all this. It can be either 0 plant or 1 plant. So that is why, sorry, it can be 0 plant or 1 plant, or some places it can suggest 2 plants also. So that means it should be greater than or equal to 0. So all my decision variables. Add that. So these are all my decision variables. Should be greater than or equal to 0. Okay. I have added all the constraints. No more constraints. Either using simplex or GRG nonlinear, we can crack this. So it's a linear regression. So we will choose GRG nonlinear. And after choosing that, so all the constraints has been fed. Just check one more time. Yes, click solve. Just few more seconds it will take. Okay, fine, click OK. Right. See, so based on all the constraints I have fed and based on the cost, solver has suggested me I have to go with, right, one large plant. Okay. Here there should be a formula, sum of, okay, drag this. Yeah, fine. Correct. So, Solver has suggested me that there should be one large plant in South America, one in Asia, and one in Africa. It has considered different options like the demand, the cost. Considering everything, it has taken this number. And see, my demand is 0 now. All my demand has been met. So it has come to 0 everywhere. And see, I said I can have excess capacity, but my demand has to be met. So if this is the allocation, African region alone has excess capacity. That's okay. So later they can plan to divert this capacity to some other plant. But then there is no demand is being met. So that is my consideration. But I still can have higher capacity. If this is the allocation I'm being done, so the cost I incur is $23,751 million to produce or to cater all the demand that is persisting in different locations. But I have to go with this suggestion. Not in North America or Europe, it is suggesting me a plan. It is suggesting me only in South America, Asia, and Africa. This is how location decisions are taken, considering the cost and demand as a factor for production. Again, what if I want a plant in every location? So all the locations I want one plant. I can still do that. Only thing is, in any location, single location, even if I want, I can go with that. In all the locations, if I want one plant, that also can be done. So add one more constraint. Okay. So I want one plant in all the locations. So that means so this total plants, okay, can be, in this case, we need to add this constraint can be greater than or equal to 1. Instead of 0, you put 1. Okay, click OK. Now click solve. It will take few seconds now. Once again, I will take your questions now. Okay, click OK. So now see, since we added that as a constraint, that means I wanted one plant in all the location. So it is suggesting me in different locations. Okay. No, no, that it is zero only. It is not minus zero. Okay. Okay. It is zero only. Or else I can put as dash also. Okay. So my demand has been met. So this is what, if I'm going with the solver suggestion, this is what is going to happen. So it is suggesting me locations where the cost is kept as the minimum, bare minimum, if I'm going with the solver solution. Okay. So otherwise, if I want one specific plant in one location, is fine. Okay. I can modify that. I can ask only thing the cost is going to increase. So Europe may say, I may consider that Europe is the destination of is a hub for car manufacturing, and yes, then why not a location in Europe? Then there invariably I wanted that, I can add that as a constraint. That's what I have given in yellow box. So I can still add that as a constraint that compulsorily I need to have one location in Europe. You can add that and then click. But only difference is marginally the cost will incur. So if I'm going with just the suggestion given by the workout or solver, this is the least cost I'm going to incur. But then with every additional add-on of my preferences, marginally the cost will increase. That's the only difference. Okay. So this is the capacitated plant location model. Okay, I will share this with you. Right. One is the based on the capacity of the plant and also the demand from the market. The next model is gravity location. So whatever said and done. So imagine we are going with a hub and spoke model and with a cross-docking facility. So invariably you would prefer to have a location in center. So center of what? Where are your markets? Where is your demand? And where are your supply locations? So if you are able to locate centrally, then all your logistics costs are going to come down to a greater extent. So obviously, not only logistics cost, your lead time also will come down drastically. So any brand, any organization for that matter, prefer to get located centrally, but due to other various reasons, they may get skewed towards one direction. So let us see how this gravity location model also helps us out. So what we have to consider here are the market, the volume of the goods shipped, and the shipping cost. Obviously, where are my markets located? And for each market, for example, you there is a market for the leather bags across the cities, all over the locations. So if that is the case, I would prefer to have my hub somewhere in Nagpur. So where I can reach Delhi, Hyderabad, Chennai, Kochi, Bangalore, Mumbai, every place when it is centrally located. Just going only with a central location model. That is what we call as gravity location model. Then again, if you're going to consider the demand specifically, the cost specifically, then we take different decisions based on that. Okay. So where are my markets and what is the volume of goods shipped and shipping cost, obviously. So these will be taken into consideration for gravity location model. So there is a workout for gravity location model also. So manually, if you're going to do the formula, this is the workout. But then we will do gravity location model also with the help of a workout. I will take you to the sheet. Okay. This is the given scenario. So these are sources and markets, and presume that there is a market in the source also. Okay, so that's why they are also considered here as destinations. Fine. And transportation cost per mile from the sources to the market, and sources to the market in the source itself also is given here. Okay, fine. So that is why when the cost from the source to its own market is lesser than the cost from the source to the markets located in a different places, right? So this is the transportation cost given, and this is the quantity demand in the respective markets also given. And this is the distance given between what? This is what I will tell you. So whenever in location models we have coordinates, that is the two variables will be there. We call them as x and y coordinates. And in location models, when x and y coordinates are given, we consider them as the latitude and longitude, the distance. So only then you will correct get the right distance. So these are the coordinates given between the locations. Okay, their latitude and longitude for these locations. And with that, the distance between the every other market is given. So here, what we need to do is, if these are the sources and these are the existing market. So I have plotted in the graph as well. Okay. So then I wanted to, it may be a warehouse or it may be a plant or it may be a mother hub. It can be anything. I wanted to come out with one more central location where I can cater to all the other markets. So for this, I'm going with this gravity location model. So here too, let us go with the solver function itself. Okay, I wanted to find out the new x and y coordinate. That is a new location. These blue dots are all the existing ones. And I wanted to identify a new central location. So go with the same solver function, and here these are the data already given. Okay, so do not bother about that. So I'm going with the solver function here. Click solver. Okay, this is where I wanted to. One second, that should carry a formula, that is the objective function. Okay, I have already cracked and kept. Fine. Okay, your cost is going to be the sum product of your transportation cost per mile, quantity in demand, as well as the distances between the market. Okay, so that we have to feed here. Okay, equal to sum product of your transportation cost, comma, your quantity demand, comma, and your distance. Okay, close brackets. So if for the given cost, transportation cost, for the quantity demanded, and for the given distance, this is the cost we are going to incur. We are incurring as of now. Let us copy this here. Okay, so that when we crack this problem, you will understand what is the difference here. Okay, as of now, we are incurring this. That is the reason why I wanted to go in for central location so that I can minimize the cost as well as the time. So when this is the case, I will go as solver. Right. So here is where I wanted solver to suggest a different cost. I wanted to minimize the cost. And where I want to change the variables is in these two cells. D13 and D14, I wanted the system to suggest me a new location. No more constraints. I do not have any constraints here. I'm going with the linear programming itself. Okay. So, okay. See. So when I have gone with that, ask system the suggestion. So it is suggesting me a new location with a latitude of 342 and longitude of 829. And if I'm going to go with, so if I plot that location in this graph, that comes somewhere in between Indore and Bhopal. Okay. So between these two blue dots, I'm getting a new location, which again is centrally located to all the demand centers and the markets. And this is the cost, the difference in cost I am incurring. So where is 17 crore 60 lakhs and odd? And see, we are just incurring 5 crore 54 lakhs 13,953. a drastic lesser than 50 percentage cost I'm incurring if I'm going with this new location, a gravity location model. So where then later I will decide how much should be the inventory. So how should I cater to the other markets, or else I can go and deploy this facility as a hub and spoke model. Also, I can keep this as a hub and cater to the other markets as well. So that I will decide later. But this is the cost reduction I'm making. How did we arrive at the new location? Can you show that the last step? Okay. Last step in solver is simple here. Okay. Okay. Solver. So in this particular problem, there is no constraints at all for us. So here, whichever wherever we wanted the solver to suggest the answer, so that will carry the objective function where we have already kept fed with the formula of combining all the cost and quantity demand. And here is where the variable, these are the two cells where I wanted to change the variables. Okay. And no constraints here. So with that, choose this GRG nonlinear and click solve. So when you click solve, automatically the solver is suggesting me this cost and this new location is also suggested. Earlier this cell was empty, X and Y coordinate was empty. Okay, since I'm asking solver to suggest a new location, it is suggesting 342 by 829 as lat and long. So that I plotted in the graph. Yes. No, no, no. The 13 and 14 is not linked to the objective function. So because I have taken, I wanted the answer to be in this cell variable. See, okay, okay. See, in objective function where I have fed here, I have fed all the formulas. But in which cell you wanted the variables to happen, I am feeding these two cells. So that is why it is suggesting answer in these two cells. Okay, that is how the solver is designed. These cells need not to have any formula, but the formula what I have fed as in the objective cell is reflecting or requesting the answer in this new cell. In the previous workout, also we were doing that, right? See here also, these cells did not have any formula. So where the okay, these cells did not have any formula, right? But I wanted the response in these cells for which I have already fed something else in the other cells. Okay, so that's the gravity location model. So it is suggesting me a central location where I'm able to minimize the cost drastically, 1/3 of the cost by this central location. So that is the gravity location model. Again, right. Right. Okay. Next is what are the factors influencing the location? So obviously, this is generic. We all also know where are my customer located and where am I doing my business. So that is why Locating, if you just recollect or if you had noticed, all the jewelry showrooms will be in a commercial area or in an area where the other outlets are also there, retail outlets are there, and together all the jewelry showrooms will be in a row so that customers will have more options. And in a mall, it will be there. So, wherein everything is available in every under one roof or umbrella, so you will have multiple choices also for customers. So where is the business area where my customer footfalls? But then a cafe is not so. A restaurant or a cafe, though they are located in a food court in a mall, but outside the mall, when you wanted to locate your cafe, you will see to that it is visible, the proximity is there, and then there is a difference between Starbucks locating its cafe and a normal XYZ brand locating its cafe. Because Starbucks has the criteria because premium cafe, the positioning is also premium. Affordability of the customers matters a lot. So you wanted to establish a facility also in a locality which is posh and where the higher income group lives more, and or else in an IT park or in a working locality in an IT corridor, more where more office spaces are there. So these are the criteria to locate your cafe, Starbucks like of cafe. But a normal tea shop, not required. So every street corner also you can find a tea shop because their positioning is such. So this is what we need to keep in mind while allocating the facility, while designing the factors for our location decision. And over and above that, you also need a skilled labor. And for manufacturers, they also have to see whether it is an SEZ area, EPZ area, and all that. And where are my suppliers? What is the policy of the local government? And what is the other guidelines, tax regimes? So those factors you will take into consideration before going. See, the model we saw based on the demand and cost. The other factors for allocation, facility allocation are these. Not only with cost and demand, we are going to conclude the location of our facility. We also are going to look forward for other factors like these two before we go in for my facility allocation. So one method under that is a factor rating method where based on the choices or based on the factors we identify, each factor has to be assigned some weightage or proportion. And finally, calculate or add on all those points, you will get one weighted average, and based on that, you will go with the location. This is the most simplest method of going with the facility location. We call this as a factor rating method. Simple as our report card. We have multiple subjects, and for each subject, we may be securing a score and put all the scores together and divide by the number of subjects, you will get a weighted average score. So that exactly is this factor rating method. And this identifying the key success factor is the focus point here. And these factors are going to differ from business to business. This example I have given for a car manufacturer. So for car manufacturer, he wanted to uh, decide whether to locate a facility in France or Denmark. And for that, he has gone with certain factors which he is taking for consideration and assigning different weightages. There is no hard and fast rule that these factors are to be should be uniform. There can be different parameters, different factors, maybe for the same car manufacturer or as well as different brands as well. So these success factors which you are designing can be completely up to your discretion. Okay. So then weightage also based on the preferences you give for factor, you assign weightage. Then when you conduct a survey through questionnaire, you collect feedback. Then based on that, you assign scores. Multiply the score with the weightage. You will get the weighted average score. And based on the collective score obtained by respective location, you decide whichever location has secured more score. Obviously, you will go in for that location. So this is as simple as that. So more of the research, feedback method, survey questionnaires, factor rating model will be executable, right? Then coming for, so once those are the network optimization model. So as I told you, logistics being the last leg, that is the last mile delivery where it ensures delivery of the product to the right customer in right time. So that There too, we need to focus on optimizing the route. So this is what I have a small simulation here. So this is the scenario where you have three manufacturing locations and two distribution centers, and the cost of shipping between the manufacturing location and the distribution center. And the demand in these two distribution centers are also given here. So this exactly is not a transportation model, but it is a optimization model. So, to cater to the demand in the respective demand centers, considering the cost aspect as well as the capacity models, so we need to assign or we need to identify what how these demand as being assigned to the respective capacity, so that what is the cost I am incurring. I will show that too with the help of an Excel. Okay, fine. So these were the this is where I wanted the answer to. And this is what is being plotted. The cost incurred from Mumbai to Kalaburgi, Mumbai to Bengaluru, Chennai to Kalaburgi, Chennai to Bengaluru. And this is the demand at Kalaburgi and Bengaluru. And this is the capacity of the Mumbai plant, Chennai plant, and Kochi plant. So I need to find out the optimum cost. And I want the system to suggest if I want to keep the cost optimum, then from where should I procure how much? Okay, so this is going to carry my objective function. So I want the figures to be suggested here. So your sum product of D3 to D5, E5 plus the cost. So both put together is going to be the objective function D12 to E14. Right, click solver. Fine. So this is where I wanted the objective function. Where I want to change the variables is between D3 and E5. Okay, but I have a constraint here. The demand must be met, but I can have excess capacity. That's what I have fed as a constraint. My D6 to E6, that is nothing but here. Okay, my D6 and E6 can be lesser than or equal to this demand. Okay, instead of 1, 0 and all that, I have given the demand itself here. Capacity also can be greater than the available one. So my F3 to if capacity can be greater, but my demand has to be met. So that has been fed as a constraint here. Here I'm going to go with the simplex. See, simplex method, that is linear programming, is one method which is considered to crack down such type of problem. You can go with non-linear also, but evolutionary is not going to give us result. You can try with any of these two, non-linear or simplex. Let us do with simplex this time. Solve. Okay, so if you have seen 5,600 was the demand. For to cater that demand, you have to procure 4,000 from Mumbai and 1,600 from Chennai, considering the cost aspects also. So if you're going to procure in this way, this is the cost you will incur. This is the optimum or the least cost you will incur. If you procure from the respective centers to cater the demand in the hubs. Okay, I will take you to this slide. You will understand from that. Okay, see, logically also to cater the Kalaburgi demand, you have to first procure complete Kalaburgi demand from Mumbai, which is closely located, and then go with the other location. So that's what solver also has suggested, and this will be the optimal cost I will incur. Fine. This is for transport planning with route optimization and capacity location. Next is the mode selection and route optimization. Actually, mode is also plays a very vital role when it comes for global trade. Airways, we all know that is the fastest mode. But anything and everything cannot be transshipped through air cargo because that comes with a higher cost. And also the volume of goods cannot be way too high. So if you wanted the voluminous cargo to be shipped, then you go to an alternative mode of transportation, that is waterways, which comes with a less cost also. But here we are going to discuss with respect to roadways or domestic transportation. So in that, what is going to be the easiest way of delivery is going to be the shortest path or the quickest path, considering the lead time into consideration. So whichever is short or whichever is quickest path, you will go in for that. But not always the shortest path need to be a quickest path. The shortest path will be going inside the city, but will be full of traffic. So you may take a ORR route or the outer ring road, so which may be the quickest. The time consumed will be very, very less, but then you will incur more cost because it is longer the distance. So there is a trade-off between a shortest path and the quickest path. So time to case basis, you need to focus upon that and take decision. Okay. This is what earlier in the first slide we were talking about the nodes and arcs, right? So all these touch points are customer nodes. And in a uh, what is that vehicle routing type of problem, you need to focus on this node because every node is the customer touch point and every node has to be covered. And the rule is each node cannot be covered twice. Then that is a very, very improper planning. So because if you are also see to that, the route also is not overlapping. So all these comes with planning. What is the road segment, motorways, all these, which route are you taking? So that is why organization go in for the cluster approach. So imagine in a Delhi type of area. So take this what is that delivery e-commerce delivery platforms, Amazon or Flipkart. Maybe in a day a delivery executive has to deliver 25 to 30 consignments and he will be assigned an area. So that is what we call as the clusterization. And in that area he will be starting from the hub or the depot. He will collect all the consignments to be delivered and he will start from one point, point A, then point B, point C, point D and all that. He will cover off every customer and come back. So this will happen unless and until nothing is going wrong. But if any customer here, so if we imagine he starts from the depot, he goes to point one, two, three, and comes back. He goes to point one, point two, but then this point two customer is not available. Still, he has to proceed with point three, point four. But after some time, he has to come back to point two. This is where he is going to incur additional cost, mostly with the help of the communication systems and all that, by giving a call, by indicating them the delivery timing. So they are avoiding. So otherwise, if we are just going with the route allocation, vehicle routing, so this is the hard and fast rule. But in some real-time conditions, you cannot avoid that. So some also when there is a return pickup, every time you cannot combine a forward delivery with a return delivery. May not be possible. But these are all practical difficulties which one will face, and logically they need to arrive at a decision making. But ultimately, see to that the cost you incur on the whole is going to be minimum, right? So that is the about the nodes and what is that arcs. And obviously, any person traveling is going to take on with the shortest path. So if he has to go from point one to point five, and these are all the distances between different points. So he will try to avoid, unless and until there is a delivery in point three also, he will go with this route. Maybe 1 to 2, 15 kilometer, then 5 kilometer, then 5. So he will calculate whichever is the shortest distance. Or else go from 1 to 3 to 5. So you will incur only 30 kilometers. But when you go here 15 plus 5, here is even more less, 25 kilometers. So you would prefer to go by this. Okay. So this is the shortest path, that is 1, 3, 2, 4, 5 with cost 20. And every time we correlate the distance with the cost. Higher the distance, higher is going to be the cost. Lower the distance, lower is going to be the cost. So that is the shortest path. And yeah, companies, to avoid more confusion, they are coming with self-organizing maps. So that means manually, if it is done, so there is all possibility in a real-time scenario also, there will be so many deliveries in specific area. So if you are manually going to map each and every person and with the numbers and the time windows and all that, it becomes really tedious and you may miss out some customers as well. So they are coming out with self-organizing maps. So with using um, artificial intelligence as well. So then you start from one point. So it will tell you the route as well as the touch points to be covered in a specific time frame. Okay, right. So with that, we have completed the syllabus. And in today's session, we were focusing on anything and everything from the perspective of optimization, distribution, location, facility location, and transportation as well. So everything has to be optimized for us to enhance or increase the efficiency of the supply chain. So ultimately, end of the day, what is the revenue that we have generated matters a lot. So recently in a Shark Tank episode, I was seeing they were introducing a diet dessert. So they have the previous year they have sold 4.4 crores of business, but then the losses were uh, 5 crores. So the revenue model itself was considered a senseless one. So though you are making some revenue, but then when are nil profits, so somewhere there is wrong with the strategy. So cost always matters a lot, so which is being given in the form of optimization in today's session, right? So your TEE examination for 60 marks, you will write 320 marks question. And we had 4 live sessions only. So majorly, so one each from each section you can expect, right? There will be 2 slots again. So I have covered. So when it comes to forecasting, just focus on the qualitative as well as quantitative forecasting methods. Cite your own examples. Inventory, focus on the classification models. No, Subrat. No solver based questions. Don't worry. I will be asking you application. So, in a given scenario, which model will you suggest? So, you need not to crack and suggest. Yes, you need to suggest based on the live session experiences, whatever you had. With that, you need to suggest. You can cite real time examples. So, no Excel workouts will be asked. Don't worry. Fine. So again, so make your presentation very neat. So highlight key points in bullets. Yeah, Shukran. Yeah, highlight them in bullets and wherever possible, cite real-time examples. And the examples, if they are with new brands, apart from the ones whatever we discussed during the live session, that would be really appreciated. But then if you are referring the brands discussed also, no problem, you can do that. Okay. So after the session, this is an additional reading. Okay, I would suggest you to go through in leisure time. Okay, good luck, all the very best. We have one more session on debriefing. So I will take up any other left out points related to term and examination on that day also. No worries. But then today after the session, I will just escalate the simulation, enabling the simulation second run. That is a final run for all of you. So see you all on Tuesday evening. Till then, bye bye. Have a nice weekend. What are the topics from which we can get basic calculations? So basic calculations, maybe inventory safety stock. Okay, nothing else. Application part only I will focus upon, no exact calculation. Don't worry. Okay, thank you and see you on Tuesday evening on simulation debriefing session. Bye bye. Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Subrat. Nice to have you also in the session. Great. Bye. Take care. Good night.